So good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Avila, and I am the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee. This is Bronx Community Board 7's Health and Human Services Committee meeting. I will pull up the committee agenda once I read the committee guidelines. On May 20th, 2023, Mayor Adams issued Executive Order 411, extending the state of emergency through June 19th. Accordingly, boards are able to continue to act under the state of emergency section of the video conferencing law, chapter 56, part WW. This allows the board to continue remotely. Minutes and video recording will be made available on our website. If you're calling into the meeting on a conference line, controls while joining from a landline or cell are as follows. To hear all available commands, enter ** on your phone. *6 mutes and unmutes you. *9 virtually raises your hand. How we will run this meeting is as follows. Bronx Community Board 7's Code of Conduct for Meetings. Bronx Community Board 7 has the right to remove and or ask a member of the public to leave a meeting or block participation of anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images or language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the board's executive committee or any other assigned committee. For a ban of the participant, the amount of time to be objectively determined by the above committee in the event of repeated disruptive behavior. If in-person outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the authority shall be summoned. Everyone besides the speaker or presenter will stay muted throughout the meeting. After each presentation is over, I will inquire if committee members have questions. Committee members will signify that they have a question by pressing the raise hand button on the screen or requesting to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Members of the public who have joined through the online link will be able to ask questions and make a brief statement on the item after each presentation and after the committee has had an opportunity to ask clarifying questions by pressing the raise hand button on the screen or requesting to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Only those recognized by the chair of the committee will be allowed to speak during the allotted time. We will stay on topic with the agenda items. Any other items will be acknowledged by the chair and new business or addressed at the next meeting, granted there is time and the committee agrees on the topic. Following the questions, discussion, and public comment portion, the committee will begin their discussion after each presentation and agenda item and will conclude with the decision to vote on a recommendation if warranted. When the agenda is finished, the meeting will be adjourned. If there are any questions related to meeting software or to our process, please use the chat function or raise hand function or contact the district manager. So good evening, everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I know these summer days get a little harder for folks to join. I'm going to pull up the agenda and make it larger. So we just reviewed meeting guidelines. I will call attendance shortly. We did not meet previously. Our meeting last month was canceled due to an unforeseen conflict on my end. Under new business, we will call on city agencies and some of the hospitals in our district to provide updates if they are on the line with us. We'll talk a little bit about our discussion for our fall agenda and also any summer activities that the committee might be interested in undertaking. And we also want to highlight a survey from the Department of City Planning that's going to be soliciting feedback from anyone in the community. And after that, we will conclude our meeting. So before we officially get started, I want to do a quick roll call for the committee members. Michelle Avila is present. Alfred Grant. Alfred Grant, Helene Wilson, Emmanuel Asamoah.
Emmanuel Asamoah present.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Daisy Perry.
Daisy Perry present.
Thank you, Daisy. Good evening. Chad. Hi. Chad Royer. And Taina Peña. Awesome. So with that, we've concluded roll call and we'll move right into new business. Before we kick in and ask our city agencies and folks on the line if they have any updates, I want to say that we acknowledge that there have been some recent health concerns that have touched all of us. So last week, we know that there were a lot of air quality concerns because of the wildfires from Canada. Our district manager and wonderful board staff put out several PSAs through our newsletter and also our social media pages, just advising folks on how to stay safe and monitor the air quality. Also notifying folks where they could get masks. Unfortunately, we are still living in really unpredictable times. And so we want to encourage folks to definitely follow all of our social media and our newsletter listservs to get the most updated information, and also to continue coming to these meetings so that we can invite folks like the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene and others to continue to update us on how this impacts our city and our district. And so with that, I want to invite, let's see, first I have the Department for the Aging. Is there anyone from DIFTA on the line? Nope. Then Kenneth from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, it's nice to see you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's really nice to see you too. Yeah, my apologies. I wasn't able to make as many of these meetings this spring as I wanted to. I had a lot of evening conflicts, but really happy to be here now with you all. So as you were saying, in the spirit of, acknowledging the poor air quality that we've been experiencing, I just wanted to kind of run through some details about air quality and what to look for. And then, of course, some of the efforts that the health department is doing. So usually when we talk about air quality, we're talking about there's two different parts, if you will. One is the fine particulate matter. That's what we experienced last week, sometimes referred to as PM 2.5. Those are particulates that are in the air that you can breathe in. They can cause issues with your lungs, and these fine particles can get into your blood. So of course, that's a huge concern, especially if you have heart or lung conditions, or have asthma or other respiratory conditions. Luckily for us, these kind of wildfire events don't happen very often on the East Coast. What we saw last week was definitely something very rare. However, something that we do see a little bit more often here is called ground level ozone. That's the other kind of common air pollutants that we might encounter here in New York. Ground level ozone is when, during the summertime when it's warmer, the heat can hold pollutants like smog, exhaust from cars, and different things closer to the ground. And so that's usually what we see in terms of poor air quality during the summer times. It's unfortunately common in bigger cities, and it does happen here as well. So as Michelle mentioned, there were distributions of masks around the city. If something like this does happen again, I would expect the health department as well as our sister agencies, NYPD and FDNY, to be conducting mass distribution around the city. And of course, those locations would be shared if and when we do have poor air quality. Additionally, we have Notify NYC. That is a service that you can sign up for where you can receive alerts in case there are any public emergencies. And this is citywide. This isn't just from the health department. So, if there were natural disasters, anything like that, you'd be able to get alerts from the city. And of course, everything I'm referencing, I'll share into the chat as well. We also, our environmental health team has a real-time air quality monitoring website. And so there are several points around the city where we take measurements of the air quality around the city. And then of course we aggregate all of that to give a final reading on what the air quality is like around the city. And then So that's all that I have for air quality specifically. And then I'm just going to touch on some of our programming that's going to be happening this summer, and then I'll pause for any questions. In the summer, in the warmer months, mosquito-borne illnesses is a really big issue, especially in places near parks or ponds or standing water. And so the health department does aerial larviciding. That's the formal name for it. Really, it just means that we're going to different neighborhoods and we're spraying to kill the mosquito larva. So I believe we started last week with Pelham Park area. I don't know, it may have been rescheduled due to the poor air quality, but of course, anytime that we're spraying in this district and other districts, we'll notify the boards and elected officials. So you'll definitely be hearing from us this summer when we do spray in your neighborhoods. The chemicals that we use they're EPA approved, but of course, you don't want to be breathing in these kinds of fumes. As such, we usually try to spray in the evening times, usually early in the morning or later at night. But of course, we'll keep you updated on that schedule when it does become available. And with that, I just want to let you all know that we're always open to arrange any presentations on any kind of health topics that you all are interested in. So, please be in touch over the summer and the early fall, and we can arrange those for you, as soon as we can. And so I'll be dropping some links into the chat. And then of course, now, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thanks so much, Kenneth. That was super informative. And thank you for offering on following up with presentations. We adjourn during the summer, as everyone knows, but we will be sending a survey to committee members to see what topics they'd like to address when we come back into session. And so we'll definitely reach out sometime in the summer to coordinate on topics. I want to ask any committee members, if they have any questions, please raise your hand or unmute yourselves. Any board members? If you have any questions for Kenneth, please unmute yourself or raise your hand. And I see members of the public. AJ, your hand is up. Please feel free to unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me? Yes. During the most recent environment and sanitation meeting, it was literally the night before those shutdowns, I had asked the rep from DEP about this and the possibility of it happening again, as we are now entering fire season, and about the mosquito spraying, but you just mentioned that before. But would you have more questions, more answers about that for environmental protection? I was kind of shocked that that's not them and that would be Department of Health. But with it being the summer and everything burning, is this going to happen more, do you think? Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you for that question. So just a little context, when it comes to environmental air quality, that is something that is more handled or addressed by the health department, just because, air quality is a matter of public health. And so of course, those kind of questions can absolutely be directed towards us. I was actually in a meeting today with some of my colleagues from DEP, and they were asked the same question about air quality, and they deferred to us. So moving forward, air quality, you can assume that the health department is working on it. To your second question, so as I was saying, previously, we usually don't see large wildfires on the East Coast and the eastern part of the U.S. It's usually something that's localized, Washington, Oregon, and California, of course, is probably a more famous example in recent memory. But, with the changing climate and with warming temperatures, we definitely do see a lot more erratic weather patterns. And so, part of the reason why the air quality was so bad here was there were converging weather patterns that kind of held the smoke over the northeastern area. And of course, I'm not a meteorologist, so I can't, get into super deep about, weather patterns. But, unfortunately, one of the results of a warming world and a warming climate is that we do see more intense weather patterns. And then, of course, there is a higher risk of wildfire due to that.
Yes, sir. Sorry. As a resident of Norwood, we're completely surrounded by parks. A lot of the residents are scared, like Marshall Parkway or Bronx Park will catch on fire. I believe it's more of a northern issue, but with this summer coming up, who knows? At this point, climate change is a real issue. That's why I thought it would be an environmental protection issue. Because if the trees and everything was fine, it wouldn't be burning, we wouldn't be choking on the gas and smoke. Thank you so much, guys.
No problem. I would imagine, just as a thought, I don't know. I would imagine that if there was some kind of burn advisory, if the air or the ground or the vegetation was super dry, we would be putting out an alert for that. I don't know if that would come from the health department or another agency, but that is something that you see, at campsites, or if you go hiking or something like that. There are those kind of cautionary messaging around being careful with open flames and different things like that.
Thanks so much, Kenneth. Are there any other questions for Kenneth? Thank you, Kenneth.
Of course.
We appreciate you, and we absolutely hope that we will continue having you on our meetings in the fall and early next year. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you. I want to ask, moving forward the agenda, if there's anyone from the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs on the line. Is there anyone from Montefiore on the line? Anyone from North Central?
Hi, good evening. Roll Titus here from Public Affairs Department, North Central Bronx. I'm representing Mr. Jones. He's unable to make it this evening, so he had a prior engagement, which is pretty pressing. So he's asked me to do the updates when the time comes along.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And yes, we are really, really grateful that North Central shows up month after month. And so completely understand that Mr. Jones has a commitment, but really glad that you're here, and feel free to share your updates.
Thank you. Oh, can I proceed now, you said?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, good evening, everyone. So from a North Central Bronx standpoint, the scaffolding project has begun on 210th Street and also at Kossuth Avenue. This will continue for a few weeks. It's basically upgrading the structure, and it's to bring the structure in line with current codes. The scaffolding is there as well to protect pedestrians, so it's not a safety issue. There's no safety concern as a result of this particular project, which will go on for a few weeks. The behavioral health unit renovations, that's currently on the way. Our behavioral health units being renovated. Completion should be towards the end of June, early July. So I guess by mid-July, we can safely say that project will be completed. All the behavioral health units will be renovated. Ambulatory care, primary care access continues to improve in the adult clinic, and we can have, we'll be having new appointments in roughly 7 days. Persons can have new appointments in about 7 days or so. And the upgrade, there was a request for the upgrade of MRI. That has now, we have received the funding for that, and work will begin later this year. The process now is on to secure vendors for that particular upgrade project. There's capital funding for it. Back to school event operations in progress. And we have just wrapped up Tai Chi, an 8-week series of Tai Chi sessions for our staff wellness program. We've just wrapped this up. In other developments, farmers market, well, the summer is almost here. So farmers market begins tomorrow, Wednesday, June 14th, and continues every Wednesday from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. And the farmers market taking place at Marshall Parkway North and Jerome Avenue. It runs until until November. So it starts on June 14th. and it continues into mid-November. And the farmers market makes it easier for anyone in the community to access fresh local fruits and vegetables at an affordable price. But Pride Month, we are celebrating Pride Month at NCB. We have planned a group photo shoot for tomorrow, June 14th at 12 p.m. That will be just outside the hospital, 3424 Kossuth Avenue. So we're doing a group photo as part of our observance. And relatedly, Bronx Pride Festival 2023, we are for the second consecutive year participating in the Bronx Pride Festival to show our acknowledgement of the LGBTQ plus community of the Bronx and to empower that community and New Yorkers to live the healthiest lives possible. So you can come and visit our booth, try your luck and win. The festival will be held at the intersection of Virgin and Westchester Avenues. Additionally, self-defense awareness workshop that's on schedule for NCB at Wednesday, June 21st. We hold a self-defense and awareness workshop, about 5 sessions throughout the day, each class running for about 15 minutes. And our health summer fair on Friday, June 30th, we're staging a summer health fair at YMCA Castle Hill from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. And we're providing free giveaways, games, health screenings, and community resources. And so that event is scheduled for June 30th. And finally, we are attending a community health fair on July 22nd, NCB, at the Church of Jesus Christ Apostolic Inc. of New York. That's at 625 Leland Avenue in the Bronx. And this is a community event coordinated to encourage healthy lifestyle, healthy living, and promoting health literacy. So that's the update from North Central Bronx.
Wow, thank you so much for that very, very full update. We really appreciate it. I have a few questions. Would you be able to send over the flyers for the community health fair during the summer by NCB? And also for the farmers market, if there is a flyer, would love to put it in our newsletter. Okay,
so that's the health fair and the farmers market flyers?
Yes, please. That'd be great.
Okay, not a problem.
And then I wanted to ask, the self-defense workshops, are they open to members of the community or is that only for staff?
My preliminary response will be to say it is for staff, but that's subject to clarification. I can clarify that and get back to you with confirmation.
Awesome. That would be great. Thank you. And my final question, so the Tai Chi sessions were for staff, is that correct?
Yes, the Tai Chi session, part of a wellness program, well attended. It was for staff exclusively.
Awesome. Awesome. Great to hear that. And definitely happy Pride. June is Pride Month, and we are really, really thrilled to support the LGBTQ plus community, and also really thrilled to hear that you all are supporting as well by participating in the festival. So let me ask if there are any committee members or members of Bronx Community Board 7 that have any questions for Raul. Please unmute yourselves, raise your hand. I see AJ as a member of the public. Please feel free to unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me? Yes, thank you, North Central, for serving the LGBTQIA plus community of CB7. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, AJ. You're most welcome.
Awesome. I see Malcolm Gray has his hand up.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. If I heard, you said that the farmers market is going to be at North Mashulu Parkway and Jerome Avenue?
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's within the bid's boundaries. Is it possible we could connect? Because I would have loved to have known that that was happening there. Are you putting it like in the park space that's like right at that corner?
Exactly. It's in the park. It's within the park.
All right. Is it possible? Can I like get your contact information? So just like, you know, we could coordinate on that, since like we're both within that
Sure,
boundary. Awesome, thank you.
sure, not a problem. Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Raul? Go ahead, Helene.
Well, I just really have a comment. The farmer's market is wonderful, but since the bid is on as well, we very often get complaints about the vendors not cleaning up properly. I just wanted to put that out there. Maybe, I wanted you to be aware of it. But we're thrilled about the farmer's market. It's wonderful.
I've heard some of the complaints. I don't know if you guys know, but we do have our own team that goes out there. A lot of the litter that's coming in that area is not from the vendors themselves, but it's actually from the traffic that is coming, from the consumers. So I have spoken to a lot of the vendors, and a lot of them do their due diligence and cleaning up as they can. But a lot of it is coming from the traffic that's moving through that area.
It's an issue. Well, I appreciate your addressing it in any way that you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions for Raul? If not, Raul, we thank you so much for being on and giving such great updates. And yes, please forward those things via email, and we'll make sure to include them in our newsletter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So moving forward with our agenda, the next two items are related to our next meeting dates. So we adjourn for the summer months and then are back in September. Our next meeting will be held on September 19th at 6:30. We understand that we'll likely go back to in-person meetings, but we will absolutely look to our board staff to make sure that we understand how the city is going to continue to operate and where we will be able to convene. Are there any meeting topics that folks would like us to consider for the fall agenda? Okay, that's okay. I know folks could be thinking about just everything that's happening now. So we will send an email out to committee members with a short survey on kind of future topics and presentations that they would like to discuss. And we'll also ask, thank you, Kenneth. Have a great evening. Thank you. And we'll also ask folks if they're interested in doing any tabling or outreach during the summer months. I know that sometimes issues come up, or we have giveaways that we can do some tabling around and hear directly from our community members. So I will send out a survey to see if folks are around and if folks would like to participate. And yes, thank you, AJ. The 24th is the Poe Park resource fair held by the community board at Poe Park. The last thing that I want to flag for folks before we adjourn. So we are launching a community district needs survey. And so we are gathering input for the current statement of community district needs and budget requests. And we're asking folks for their survey and feedback to get an understanding on folks' thoughts on the district's biggest needs and priorities. And these will be shared with our community board. Anyone can fill it out. It does ask for your community board at the end. So this can be used Bronx-wide. So please encourage neighbors to also fill it out. And we'll use this information as a guiding post when we next work on our community needs statement and budget request. I am sure we'll circulate this in our newsletter as well, but wanted to make sure that folks were aware of it. Are there any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns before we adjourn a meeting? Awesome. If not, I move to adjourn the meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
If not, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second, good night, everyone. Thank you so much and have a happy summer. Thank you.
All right, good night. Good night.
Good night.